Hey, how you doing? It is, I forgot to mention the date on the last video, which was number 1, and this is number 2, and it's the same night. I forgot to mention that it is January 25th, it's Burns night, and the start of the challenge is on, but I'm going to try and do number 2 on the same night to try and give myself a bit of a head start. I'm not doing another one though. So, dog's still walking around, causing havoc. What's the matter? Just go and sit down and stop being a pest. No, go on, sit. Sit. Don't listen to me then. Sit. Don't get a dog. Go and sit down, you absolute kids. Wait, no, don't stop playing with that. Sit down. I'll get on with it. I haven't managed to get rid of that reflection either. It's I need to kind of put my head like that, but then you need to look up my nose. So I'm not being snooty, I'm just trying not to get this really annoying reflection in your eye. So, number 2. And this one is, because technically today is 25th of January, and it's Burns night, and it's also my father-in-law's tasting. The next one I'm going to be trying is Old Forester Birthday Bourbon. I'm a bit of a bourbon geek as well. Given the choice, I'd rather have bourbon over scotch, but there's not quite 366 bourbons, and I think I'd probably get a bit sick of it, drinking that many bourbons even in the course of a year. So this is a Kentucky bourbon. Bourbon is slightly different to single malt scotch in that it is made of a grain mixture which has to be at least 51% corn, whereas scotch single malt is malted barley. So 51% corn, and then you can have other grains involved as well. So you could have malted barley, you could have other grains in there as well, but it's got to be at least 51% corn. It's matured in new charred oak barrels, and because predominantly Kentucky is where a lot of bourbon's made, but you can have bourbon made in the rest of the US. But because Kentucky is much more humid, hotter, warmer, much better climate than Scotland, it tends not to age quite as well. You'll tend to struggle to find a bourbon over, say, sort of 20-25 years old, because so much is being lost through the cask due to the heat. A straight bourbon has to be aged for a minimum of 2 years. Bourbon on its own can be aged anything up to a couple of months, and then it can be released as bourbon. It might not be that good to drink, but you know, if you've got bourbon on the label, it might only be a few months old. Traditionally, bourbon's sort of much more richer than scotch, a lot of scotch, and a lot deeper. And yeah, I absolutely love the stuff. This particular one, Old Forester as a brand, is officially the longest running distillery on the market for bourbon. And the company that own it, Brown-Forman, own a number of other brands, but this was sort of the first one. And I think it's the 5th generation of the Brown family that started Old Forester, still owns the company today. So you're looking at about $60 for this. This particular one, they do have a range of different bourbons, but Birthday Bourbon is one that's released annually on I've got notes down here, September 2nd, which is in honour of the birthday of the founder. Every year since 2002, they've been releasing a birthday bourbon, so it's kind of like a single batch bourbon. It's a little bit rarer, but I've been struggling to find ordinary Old Forester, plus I had it open, so why not have that one? This particular one I got about 3 years ago. My wife kindly bought it for me. They've actually changed the bottling, so if I get time, I'm going to try and put the picture of the new bottle that they've got there, kind of there. We might even have a map of where Louisville, which is where this is made in Kentucky, is in relation to the rest of the US. So let's. I've lost my jigger. That's because I cleaned it out. It's over there. One of these days I'll actually have everything prepared in advance. That'd be nice, wouldn't it? Yeah, it's not going to happen. So here's pouring. Now, I've already had this before, as you can probably tell, but this is more just for the sake of the challenge and for the sake of you guys that haven't had it. So, here we go. Lovely dark colour. I love bourbons. I really do. I wish I could just have all bourbons all the time, but that's not really fair. And it's a bit boring after all. It's really rich, really raisiny, really like fruitcakey. When I was a kid, I tried to make a fruitcake with my mum for Christmas, and it was one of those where you start making it in about August, and you get loads of dried fruit into a pan, and you just pile loads of different alcohol in, like brandy and whiskey and this and that and the other, gin and stuff like that. And then you just kind of like boil everything so that it all soaks into the fruit. And you know, I was about eight or nine. I was pissed out my head just standing in the kitchen, but it smells like this. It's fruit and alcohol and warmth and richness and Christmas, and it's just beautiful. And it's really classic bourbon smells, noses, real classic bourbon smells that you've got in there. So rich and deep, it's absolutely fantastic. I didn't do the percentage of this, did I? This is 48% ABV, so it's slightly stronger than your standard. The legal minimum for whiskey, whether it's bourbon or scotch or anything like that, is 40%. It's not cask strength, so it's 48% ABV. Now I'm going to talk about this in like a separate video, but 48% ABV is 96 proof, US proof. It starts to get complicated, but US proof is double what the percentage ABV is. It's not 96% proof. There isn't no such thing as a percent proof, but I'm going to do that in a later video later on in the year, trying to explain it, because it's complicated, it's kind of interesting, but a lot of people tend to get it wrong. So, the important bit, tasting it. Now there's a bit of a prickle there because it's 48%, so there is that kind of sort of burning sensation, but there's loads of fruit and it just keeps going. I can still taste it now. Really rich dark fruits, caramel, toffee. I still taste it. It's still going. I've swallowed. It's what, 30 seconds later, and it's lovely. It does disappear relatively quickly once it's gone. It doesn't really linger on that long, but it's got a lovely richness to it. Possibly argue that there's a little bit too much of an alcoholic burn. It's 48%, it's not cask strength, it's not that strong compared to some whiskies that you have. And I've had whiskies before that have had a higher alcohol percentage and haven't burnt quite as much as this has. And it just masks the flavour a little bit. Now I'm not going to add any water to this because I don't really think it's going to do it necessarily any favours, and it would literally just be a drop. Any more than that would knock it down below the 40%, and I don't really want to do that. But it is, again, really warming. It's just the burn's just slightly too much. It's just overpowering the flavours that are there. And it doesn't taste quite as rich as the nose does. It's not quite as fruity, it's not quite as fruit cakey as it smells like it should. It's still good, but that is nicer than that, which is a shame. And for $60, that's not a cheap bourbon, but it's in a cracking bottle. Right, so that's 2 down, 364 to go. I'm going to try and elaborate a bit more on bourbons and the differences and how things are made and everything like that, and I'm going to try and do some individual videos about certain aspects of whiskey and the production and whiskey drinking and things like that hopefully you might find a bit informative. But we're up and running. 2 down. Still loads to go. Still a reflection in my glasses that I need to try and get rid of because it's going to annoy not just you but really annoy me as well. But yeah, I will see you on the next one. Might be tomorrow, might be the day after, but hope you enjoyed it. Okay, bye.